Hi, this is Mike Elliott, and you're watching the Cannabis Financial Network's Thought Leader series. In this segment, we'll be talking to Mr. Steve Berg from the ArcView Group. Mr. Berg is the editor of the second edition of the State of Legal Marijuana Markets, a recently released report from ArcView Research. With deep industry experience, the ArcView Group is ushering in the next generation of cannabis-related businesses with the ArcView Investor Network, Sea-Change Research, Cannassure Insurance Services, and other groundbreaking ventures. Good afternoon, Steve. Thanks for joining us.
Great to be with you, Mike.
To start off, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, the ArcView Group, and the State of Legal Marijuana Markets reports?
You bet. So I'm a former investment banker that several years ago decided to concentrate on the legal marijuana market space because I saw such opportunity and because I thought it was an important market to develop. I'm currently advising investors and companies in the space, including working with the ArcView Group, who, amongst other things, runs a investor network for legal cannabis business, where we bring together investors and businesses that are looking for capital funding to build their businesses and ultimately realize their dreams. Another company of ArcView is ArcView Market Research, and that's an independent market research outfit, and we're putting out the State of Legal Marijuana Markets report, the second edition. Our first came out in 2011. And the State of Legal Marijuana Markets report is really a deep dive into legal marijuana markets, how big they are, what are the key trends, what things investors and entrepreneurs really need to pay attention to. And it's also very relevant for media and regulators.
And can you provide us with a brief overview of the legal marijuana market as it stands today?
You bet. So our research finds that the national legal marijuana markets presently are at a value of $1.44 billion. And the outlook for the market is really one of fast growth. For the 2014 legal marijuana market on a national basis, we see the value growing to $2.43 billion, $2.34 billion, which is an annual increase of 64%. That's obviously fast growth and faster than any other domestic market that we've seen.
And what kinds of mistakes do you see companies in this space making, and how could they avoid some of the most common ones?
You bet. As covered in the report, one of the key trends that we're seeing in legal marijuana markets now is the professionalization of the market. So we've had markets and operators that have historically done business on an underground basis and didn't necessarily have all the best practices and trappings of, say, conventional businesses. Well, today, with increased state regulation and legalization, these companies are now operating above ground and really have to adopt best practices. So whether it's having up-to-date IT and computer services, marketing and promotion, and operational management, what we're really seeing now is the professionalization of these markets. The same is true of investors in these markets. Historically, investors in cannabis businesses tended to come from friends and family sources, potentially angel investors. Now we're seeing these markets really attract a lot of interest from the full gamut of investors, including very seasoned angel investors, venture capital and private equity firms, and there's clear evidence that Wall Street is paying attention to.
And Steve, could you tell us what are some of the key trends that you're seeing right now in ancillary markets like alternative ingestion or extraction?
Yeah, you've hit on two of the really powerful trends currently underway and likely to persist in legal marijuana markets, alternative ingestion and extraction products. So these products center on extracting the essential oils from cannabis and formulating them into different products. Many of these products aren't smoked, and there's a lot of interest, particularly in new marijuana consumers, in not actually having to adopt a smoking habit in order to consume cannabis. So extraction products are often consumed in these alternative delivery methods like vaporization, whereby the materials are heated up to a point that releases a vapor or a steam, but short of combustion. So it's not smoking, it's vaporizing. And then, of course, there's a lot of interest in products that are actually consumed orally in the form of foods and beverages and other related things like lozenges capsules and tablets.
And could you describe the state of marijuana lobbying efforts and maybe who some of the most promising organizations are right now in that arena?
You bet. As we've identified in the State of Legal Marijuana Markets report, legal marijuana markets exist based on the intersection of advocacy and entrepreneurship. Without these policy organizations and lobbyists doing their important work to open up these markets, there can be no commerce. So we see things happening on an advocacy front, and we see things happening on an entrepreneurial front to build the supply chains that serve the consumers. As far as advocacy and policy groups are concerned, there are many groups that are operating on a smaller basis, on a state-specific basis, or within their local communities. On a national basis, we see organizations like the Marijuana Policy Project, the Drug Policy Alliance, and even Students for Sensible Drug Policy really making important inroads and opening up new state markets. And Marijuana Policy Project in particular has been a driver of legalization in new states and has really been instrumental in opening those states and writing the state laws. I would add that another layer of advocacy and policy efforts have taken the form of industry lobby. And the National Cannabis Industry Association in particular is spearheading the advancement of business interests and rights specific to the legal marijuana industry.
And last, what advice in general would you give companies that are looking to get into the marijuana market?
You bet. So in many respects, no different than in other industries, you really have to do your homework and know your stuff. These markets are nuanced and complex. Each state market, since it has its own unique regulatory framework, is a market unto itself and will be different from other state markets. So as business operators are looking at potentially starting new businesses in states, they really have to understand the state regulatory framework and do their homework. Of course, networking as part of that research is absolutely critical. And there are a number of formats and forums where you can really get to know industry leaders and what the key aspects of operating a business are. And then for companies that operate in the ancillary space, and I'll define that as companies that do not touch the plant directly, but cater to those who do, would be the likes of security service providers, point of sale and inventory tracking softwares for dispensaries, consulting services for businesses, and many other forms. These businesses can access the national market because they're not handling the plant, and therefore they're not limited by the state boundaries. And as with others, these companies need to do their homework. They're often coming from conventional industries, non-marijuana industries, I should say, and bringing their skills and expertise into the marijuana space. So for these ancillary companies, it's often really important to draw upon skills and experiences acquired from other industries.
And Steve, that's all the questions I had for today. Was there anything else you wanted to add before we close? And maybe tell our viewers where they could go access this report.
You bet. So the report is available from our website. It's State of Legal, the name of the report is State of Legal Marijuana Markets. And people can find that at www.legalmarijuanamarkets.com. One other point I'd like to leave you with is relates to growth trajectory. And we've already talked about the substantial growth that we expect in 2014 with new markets coming online. And of course, Washington State and Colorado will be implementing adult use marijuana for the first time. So these will have fully legalized markets for adult consumers. And this is a really important bellwether with respect to where markets are going. In fact, ArcView Market Research projects that 16 states will adopt new legal marijuana laws within the next 5 years. 2 of those states are expected to adopt medical marijuana laws, and 14 of those states are expected to adopt adult use marijuana laws, as we're now seeing in Washington State and Colorado. And these are huge growth drivers. It's based on these new regulations and these new market opportunities that ArcView Market Research projects that the market potential for legal cannabis markets on a 5-year horizon is $10.2 billion by the year 2018.
Wow. Well, Steve, thanks again for taking the time to join us and share your insights.
My pleasure.
We've been talking to Mr. Steve Berg with the ArcView Group. He's the editor of the second edition of the State of Legal Marijuana Markets, a recently released report from ArcView Research. With deep industry experience, the ArcView Group is ushering in the next generation of cannabis-related businesses with the ArcView Investor Network, Sea Change Research, Canasure Insurance Services, and other groundbreaking ventures. You can learn more about them by visiting their website at www.arcviewgroup.com. Thank you for watching.